Okay, so I'm going to go over a few examples of how to work a supply and demand graph. I've gone ahead for this video. I'm going to make one more with more graphs, but I'm going to take off the reasons for demand changes and the reasons for supply changes. But I'm going to have them up here for one more round until you get a little bit used to it. So I've explained how it works in the last video. This is going to be what I'm going to call example, video example 1 or example video 1, and I'll do example video 2, which will have probably maybe 4 examples, but I won't have these notes up here. So make sure if you don't have them, you should have them in your notes. You should have them known from the videos plus notes attached to the Google Classroom, but I'm going to leave them up here for this one last time, okay? So let's look at both of these graphs. The market is paint, okay? So this is the paint market, just for buying paint, and the first one is 100 paint stores closed. So if 100 paint stores closed, we got to figure out, is it a supply or demand issue? Is it going to be an increase or decrease? And then what's the new price going to be? And what's the new quantity going to be, or the new output going to be? Okay. So if the stores close, that means that sounds more like a supply issue. So we can go over here and try to figure out which one of these things does it really hit up with. Which one of these scenarios, which one of these outside forces is giving us a new reality that's going to give us a new curve. Remember, again, these curves are just representations of behavior under the conditions of scarcity. When we get these changes in scenarios, it leads to new curves because our behavior changes due to these new scenarios. So in this case, it looks like it's going to be a change in the number of producers, right? 100 stores closed. Well, if they close, that's going to be less paint, which would be a decrease. We know a decrease to the left. So here would be our new curve, and we always use an arrow, right? So now here's our new reality. We were here at point A. That's where our equilibrium was, right? We got our equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price. But now here's our new equilibrium right here, where the new supply curve is the demand curve. So we go directly over here to P sub 1 and directly down to Q sub 1. So we can see the price went up and the quantity went down. And this would be due to a change in the number of producers, right? So this would be our reason. So we have our new quantity, our new price, our new curve, and our reason, and now we can analyze why these things happen. These are giving us the tools to analyze all these things going out in the world and how it affects prices and output, all things being equal, or ceteris paribus, right? Because you can only move one thing at a time. But in reality, lots of things are moving. Now let's look here. This is paint again, the second one. In this scenario is the price, if you can't see, it says the price of paint brushes goes up. There's an increase in the price of paint brushes. Well, that wouldn't be a supply issue, so what would that match up with? What do paint brushes and paint have to do with each other? And usually you can't paint without a paintbrush. And so in this case, it'd be a complementary good. So if paintbrushes got more expensive, we're probably not going to want to be buying as much paint. So the demand for paint would go down. This would be our new demand curve. Right here would be our original equilibrium with our equilibrium quantity and our equilibrium price. But now here's our new equilibrium. We'll call this point B. We go over the y-axis. This would be our price sub 1, and this would be our quantity sub 1. So quantity would go down. In this case, price would also go down because the demand was pulled down. And our reason for it would be a change in the price of a complementary good, because paint brushes and paint go together, and those would be a couple examples of how we would analyze this scenario in this market, and that makes us a better consumer. It makes us a better a better thinker when it comes to how markets work, and allows us to make better decisions for our life and analyze situations, knowing why things happen, what happens to price. And I'm going to do 4 more of these, so here are 2 more examples.